So hello, everyone. Welcome to another International Manifesto Group Zoom panel, this time on the topic of how the Western media manufactures consent for capitalism's disasters. In this panel, we bring together five of the most important and interesting young journalists working outside Western media, whose work I would say makes up for, even as it exposes the complicities of Western media with practically all the major disasters that capitalism has recently created: economic decline, financial crisis, ecological disaster of the most unprecedented and frightening variety, war, public health emergencies, playing with fire with the danger of nuclear war. The list is very long. My name is Radhika Desai. I convene the International Manifesto Group, and I will be chairing this event. What are some of the scandals of capitalism that the Western media either ignores or distorts, all in order to shore up declining consent for capitalism? And by the way, its decline is today perhaps most spectacularly manifest in the streets of Paris, as we have been seeing, mostly on social media, because again, the Western media is not reporting it. Let us just list some of these, and just in order to put us in the right frame of mind as we listen to our speakers. One can think of the concrete lies and disinformation that have been spread on important topics such as the famous Iraqi weapons of mass destruction, or Russiagate, or today the sabotage of Nord Stream, and the near universal refusal of the Western media to report on the scale of the protests against pension reforms in France, let alone the scale of the police brutality there. But let me actually step back and also identify the major themes which the Western media has been recording, preventing the world from recognizing what an important juncture in history we are at. Perhaps the most important and welcome development of our time, the rise of and what Hugo Chavez would call pluripolarity, and the corresponding diminution of the power of imperialism, which have opened up new horizons and possibilities for the development of the vast majority of the Earth's people who live in poor societies. This has been reported consistently as having to do with the rise of authoritarian powers. They, we are told, endanger the so-called rules-based international order. And this so-called rules-based international order, secondly, is nothing more than the West's ever more destructive and desperate attempt to hang on to imperial power, vainly, of course. And this, in turn, has never been portrayed for what it really is, which is the right of the West to continue behaving according to the rules of its own convenience, in ways that maintain the privileges that capitalism and the imperialism that necessarily accompanied it had historically created for these parts of the world. Which the development of the rest of the world, particularly socialist China, has eroded this privilege. And it has done so in the teeth of Western imperialist resistance. Thirdly, China's ringing victory over the pandemic was panned as authoritarian, inept, murderous, when in fact it was the West's response that had been so, not inadvertently, but as a necessary part of its capitalist character, the capitalist character of those states and those governments, which were indulging in what Engels once called social murder. Fourthly, the scandal of the real costs of the pandemic, paid overwhelmingly by the underprivileged in Western societies, was portrayed in the Western media simply as a result of the pandemic, rather than the genocidal neglect and ineptitude of Western governments, which were entirely due to their servility to corporate interests. Fifthly, the West's historical responsibility for the climate emergency has been completely swept under the carpet, with the Western media focusing on China's and the third world's contribution to climate warming, for example. Meanwhile, sixthly, the bankruptcy of the West's climate responses, which are confined to what is profitable for Western corporations, has not been reported on, and the critical contributions that China is making to mitigating climate warming are largely overlooked. Finally, the debasement of the discourse around imperialism, in which the proxy war against Ukraine conducted by the West is taken as standing for democracy, while Russia is taken as being imperialist. This is an absolute scandal of the highest order. The fact of the matter is Western aggression towards Russia, which is clear in the disasters of shock therapy, the expansion of NATO, the sanctions, and many other things besides. All of this is again swept under the carpet. I could go on, but why should I, when we have such excellent speakers who will do a much better job?
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.